What, here?
Yeah. It was an old man stood on the plate and kind of just tipping his toe off. It wasn't quite as advanced as what I've been doing.
No, I'm unaware of any other PT trying to do it.
Client.
Well, clients do it.
DGA.
Yeah, you're not the only one who's ever done the DGA.
Oh.
I'm sorry to say, but you're the only one with DW worldwide.
Okay.
If that's a plus.
Okay, I'll take that.
Yeah. So yeah, let's get straight into it. Soon we can get out there, lift some heavy weights, get a bit of a bicep pump on.
Yeah.
That's what we're all here for, really, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. It felt good to do some curls the other day. It's been 10 weeks, you haven't put them into any of the workouts. I was kind of expecting that to...
Yeah. Coming with me with a shoulder and an ankle problem, I thought, let's not bicep curl sessions.
Yeah.
But standard bodybuilding one today. Mm-hmm. So, getting into it, what was your sort of big frustration before starting with me? What was the issue? Why? What's the background?
It was just a long-term, frustration with injuries that kept coming back and kind of going and coming back. So that was like my right ankle and then left shoulder. The right ankle was something that had been like probably like years of just like on and off, kind of an awareness of it annoying me, and then probably just like a cycle of like being into like training or exercising, and then once I'm into that once I had been into that sort of routine, that just taking its toll on the joint, and then me getting frustrated, and then perhaps life took me in another direction. I wasn't exercising as hard, so I forgot about it, and then it kind of, I think, reoccurringly flare up as my activity would increase. So that was just really annoying, and then so that had been a long-term issue, and whether or not like the history of it was related to like I had like pulled some ligaments in like my ankle when I got dropped from a line out in rugby onto like an icy pitch. So I was in crutches for that, but it wasn't like an op or like it was like two weeks in crutches, nothing like massively serious, but whether that was like the sort of initial trauma that caused a weakness or not, I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that. And
how long ago was that?
That was my first year of sixth form, so I'm 26 now. So I'm just been like, maybe like just under 10 years, so like maybe 8 to 10 years ago. Can't remember exactly.
Of just ankle pain getting in the way of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, to lesser and greater awareness, to be honest, because like I mountain bike pretty like quite a lot in uni. I don't remember it holding me back massively then, but whether I was aware of that or not, I'm not sure, because compared to how it feels now, it feels very different. I feel more balanced, very different. So whether I was like compensating for that, it would be through the way I was positioned on a bike, or how I walked, or because I stood up most of the day in uni in the workshop. So whether that I wasn't experiencing pain because I had just compensated for that, then I'm not sure. But yeah, then more in terms of more recent history, like I'd say like the past year. So I say recent history, the past 2 years since I've been back in Cardiff, moved back from Brighton in 2021, end of 2020. And so I think since then, that's when I started to notice it more, when I was riding in Cardiff and like training a bit more. I really got into my training in 2021 after lockdown, really. Once the gyms reopened, I really wanted to like make it a part of my life again. So yeah, I'd say that was just annoying. And the other injury, which you helped me with, which was was the left shoulder, and that was, I think, more of a direct. I can identify the direct cause of that because I'd been chefing in Casanova. That didn't hurt before, and then I was using my left arm as the arm that I used to hold pans. So it was only my left arm where I'd have like a pan with like a huge fucking big pan of pasta. And so I think that maybe flared it up. Whether the imbalance was already there and just holding pans all day repetitively on that side is what kind of exacerbated it or not. I'm not sure, but yeah, that's where that issue came from.
Yeah. And what was life like living with that? So with your ankle and your shoulder, how did it make you feel? What did it stop you doing?
Well, it was really, it just detracted from my quality of life, like, all the time, especially when I was chefing, because it was a job where, like, I was active, I was training in the gym most days, and I was riding on my days off, and I was working, like 40 hours a week on my feet. So it was like physically demanding job, which meant that I was constantly putting stress on injuries, and it was just annoying. I was trying to solve the problem myself, and it just took me away from the present moment and made my experience of, like, being in a physical body and using that body, whether it was for my job, chefing, or like for sport, just painful and just not just. It just felt like I was treading on eggshells all the time. But I wasn't sure whether, like, oh, is my ankle going to hurt today? And I was just kind of always, like, doubting myself or catching, or just it was just always kind of like a niggle that was just like, just a thorn in your side. It was so annoying, really annoying.
And what did you try during that sort of time to self-fix or work with others?
The first thing I did was, like, it's kind of why I got into kettlebells, because, like, I was interested in, like, rebalancing my body, because I was aware that I had an imbalance, and I thought that, like, through, like, doing mainly sort of like body weight and kettlebell exercises, I'd sort of be able to sort of in a sort of low resolution, like, general way, just address the imbalance by doing single arm exercises, and just kind of hoping that through the course of progressing through those movements, it would kind of like sort itself out basically by default. So I'd done that, and to some extent it did help. I definitely got fitter from it, and that my body definitely got into a better shape. But it didn't solve the injuries. It didn't, like, get to the root cause. I think, like, it might have, like, helped a little bit in terms of getting blood flow around and just, like, me actually just being generally more mobile and fit. But actually specifically targeting the problem, I don't think I had, like, the actual tools in my own knowledge to be able to do that properly.
Yeah.
So that's what I tried, and then I went to a physio, and she did some sports massage, and that was, like, helpful to a certain extent, but it just didn't help in the long term. Like, short term, it was, like, nice and, like, you can cut this bit out, but, like, she was kind of hot and, like, and Spanish, so I did enjoy, like, that side of it.
Yeah.
She did also have a boyfriend, and she did give me some workouts, but they just weren't very effective, and they were really boring. So it just led to me being unmotivated, not wanting to do them, and, like, she told me not to ride, and, like, it was just the whole process. I think I ended up spending like 150 quid on, like, 3 sessions over the course of a couple of months, and it just didn't work. And I think an element of that was, like, perhaps, like, although, like, we got on some personal level, like, compared to, like, our relationship, where I feel like we have, like, we're on the same wavelength in terms of training. Like, maybe it helps also, like, being genuine about this, that we're both guys. You understand, like, my sort of outlook on the world and what I want to be able to achieve a bit more. I think for her, like, it just felt a little bit like, it just didn't click. So that was annoying, especially because I actually went out and spent money on it. So after that, I was like, right, well, I kind of gave up. I was just like, well, this is it. Like, paid for a physio. That's what she was paid to do. It's not working. And then, and I think, and then and then in the winter last year, my sort of activity levels dropped a little bit. And, and then by the end of the year, I was just feeling pretty bummed out about my injuries. I wasn't riding that much. And then, and especially because I was finishing up that chefing job, because that was taking quite a lot of my energy. I was just like, this is rubbish. So when I saw that you had the mobility workshop on, I was like, well, sick. Like, that seems like a good sign from, like, the world to, like, go and try something new out. And and I think that was like a big turning point. Definitely, just to have someone like actually get some data down and measure stuff and be like, right, well, here's the problem and there is a solution for this. That was like a really like satisfying thing to actually come across. It was like, especially with like, because I'd done so much research online, not even research, just to like consume so much content from like the whole like fitness and like wellness stuff on social media when you're scrolling through reels or like on Instagram or YouTube videos, and every bloody guru's got their own method of doing stuff, but it's all just mediated through a screen. And then when you actually go to a mobility workshop, speak to someone in person, you're just like, finally someone who actually like has studied this to a degree level, knows what they're talking about, and is here with me in the room. So yeah, I think that was a massive like light bulb moment for me.
And what was the gap between you doing the kettlebells, you going to physio, and then you going to the workshop? Like what, if you remember the time periods?
So like I was kettlebelling from like March 21. So I'd already kettlebelled at the end of March 22 until like September, October. I'd already done like a round the year before that, and I went to Chile in January 2022, did like body weight whilst I was there, came back February, and then was like, right, I'll just get back into another round like kettlebell, start going heavier. And then when I started in Casanova, that's when my injuries did start to flare up a lot, because I was like, on my feet for a lot longer, and just it was a really small kitchen. It didn't allow for much. You kind of always like moving around people in like tight ways. It's not a pleasant place to work in terms of like feeling free. It's quite like a locked in hot space, very stressful as well, really stressful job. So yeah, March 2022 I started there, and I was kettlebelling and then club belling a bit until like September, October, and then like sort of October until the end of the year I was just like just didn't do as much exercise. We'd like come to like classes every now and again, but like my sort of routine became really unstructured, and just like my motivation kind of followed that as well. That sort of unstructured sort of motivation as well. I was like, lift really heavy one day and then kind of just not go, and then go in and just like just flickering a bit, rather than just being more like a consistent building of something a bit more sort of sustainable.
Yeah, nice. And what do you think was the big difference between me and the others you've worked with, or the style of coaching, or the way we approached it? Like why did it happen as well as it has compared to others, do you think?
Well, I think one of the main things that helped was that firstly, obviously, like obviously the mobility routines you gave me worked, but I think because I was in like almost like quite like a charged, irritated headspace, and also because of the jobs that I'd worked in compared to what I worked in now, I was like solving quite a lot of problems all the time. Yeah. So like when I had this problem myself, like my mind, all it wanted to do was solve the problem, and it was just like restless at the fact that there was a problem there and it wasn't being solved. And so, I mean, because those mobility workouts can't be done enough, it kind of just like closed the door on like that being an issue. It's like, right, if you want to do these 3 times a day, if you want to solve this problem fast, you can do them 5 times a day. You just can't do them enough. Yeah. And I think there's something weirdly liberating about that, because it just meant, great, I literally unfollowed all the fitness accounts on my Instagram, don't watch any of it on YouTube. It's like, great, that all that information is now no longer going in my brain. I'm actually just doing something, and it doesn't matter how much I do it. It's not necessarily like the most interesting thing, although I do still find them really like fun, and just perfecting them. But just that fact of like it can't be done enough, and you can just keep doing it because you have imbalances that go back years. You're not even going to solve this in the 10 weeks we're working together. So you just keep doing these things. It's like, great, I don't have to think about this anymore. I can just do it.
Yeah.
That I think was a massive thing. And the fact that they've not changed, and they're pretty simple. They're pretty simple things.
Yeah.
Simple workouts. So it's just like simple, easy to repeat, and can't really cause any more problems.
Yeah.
I think that was massive.
And did you find them helpful? Did they do the job?
Yeah. Obviously, it was within like 2 weeks. I think was when like it was like, okay, yeah, I'm feeling less pain now. I think it was definitely the two. I mean, 1 week definitely felt great, but I think I could confidently say after 2 weeks that they'd done something, especially because I did do them every single day as well. Like, and the fact they just I kind of had to have faith, because I remember when I first started, I was really enjoying, because although like I was in balance, I was really enjoying doing the JD burn classes in the afternoon, just to like get back into like the cardio. I was enjoying like the high intensity training again. So like, to let those go and do the mobility was a bit, because I'd found something that was like invigorating me training wise. I was like, oh crap, I don't want to change this, but I do have this problem. So I did have to kind of like have an element of like trust and faith, and I did, and I committed to it, and it worked. And then I was, it got to the point where now I'm doing the classes in the morning and training in the evening, which I didn't really think was going to happen. And I love that. I'd never really thought I would be someone who trains twice a day, but I like that lifestyle now. So yeah, it worked. They worked really well.
And you mentioned before about your bike riding. How did that change? How's that now?
Yeah, a lot better. And like, I've actually ridden less, but my riding's got better. And I think that's just because like my general physical preparedness is just like better. Like, my body is more aligned, and I think I have more confidence in it. And like I mentioned to you the other day, just applying a similar approach to learning skills on a bike, just like learning the weight training skills, is become like quite enjoyable as well, because I'm actually thinking and looking at people who inspire me on Instagram and stuff, like what positions are they in on their bike, and just thinking of from that perspective, what position do I need to be in? If something hurts on a bike, or if something doesn't feel great, it's probably because I'm not in the right position. And why am I not in the right position? Well, that's either because my body's in balance or because I'm too scared. A lot of it's fears, like, am I willing to put my hips that far back to actually be into a wheelie or a manual? And so it becomes a bit more psychological, but knowing that method, I think, is great, because it means it's like, okay, well, I'm not comfortable in this position yet. I want to get to this point. Like, for example, at the moment I'm working towards an American bunny hop, which is a sort of thing, I explained it to you, which is like, you're riding on your bike, you lift the front wheel up, you balance on the back wheel for a fraction of a second, and you thrust your hips up towards the bars, and then kind of hug the bike up underneath you, and then put it back down with your front wheel touching the ground first. And I've been trying to do that for ages without being able to actually put my hips far enough back to be able to create the space for my hips then to move forward. I was kind of just like, it's not necessarily the most graceful movement, but just kind of just like humping the air, but like in not a graceful way, just kind of like really stiff. And like, now that I think my hips have opened up and I'm thinking about it more in terms of position than yanking a bike up into the air, I'm just breaking the movement down, just like we've done through like the routines you've given me with like the squats and like the deadlifts, just breaking it down and only practicing one bit, and once I've nailed that position, then moving on to the next one, because otherwise I think it's likely to cause injury, and then what's the point in that, because you don't make any progress if you're not practicing, and you don't practice when you're injured. So I think it's really helped my biking.
And do you remember the moment that you thought this is working, and more long term this is going to work?
I'd go back to that 2 week mark, in terms of like the pain and the mobility, and then maybe like after the second round of like the weightlifting, I was like, oh cool, like I'm really enjoying, like I think by that point, like I'd kind of let go of like this sort of tunnel vision of like kettlebell workouts, and just kind of like, I think, allowed myself to experience going back onto like the plate loaded weight machines and barbell stuff, and then also because I was coming to the class in the morning, getting my taste for like the more like CrossFit-y stuff with kettlebells and ball slams and things. I think just broadening like my what I decided that I wanted my physical training routine to be, just felt a lot more freeing rather than kind of staying, right, I'm just going to be someone who does kettlebells because that's simpler and is going to fix my imbalances, which it didn't.
Yeah.
Just made sort of like the whole idea of going to the gym a lot more fun, and also like, yeah, just made the workouts more enjoyable and just nicer to just jump on different machines and yeah, and just get a pump and lift some weights. Like it was a good experience to do that again.
Yeah. And what's life like now? So we started this chat and it's frustrating, years of pain sort of like holding you back, and you don't know, you know, is your ankle going to hurt doing this or that, and you can't plan it. So what's your sort of mindset now? What are you planning? What are you looking forward to? What's your thought process?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, life is a lot better. Like my quality of life is a lot better. I feel a lot more confident in my body, like in its ability to perform, but also like aesthetically, like I feel like, I think just a lot more aligned. I feel better when I walk around. I stand up. I feel like, especially with the shoulder mobility, my shoulders are back. Like I feel like I'm standing up straighter, which makes me feel more confident. I'm facing people chest on rather than like having my shoulders curled down. And I think like psychologically that's massive when you stand up and you actually just feel like planted and like confident. And I think that has like an outsized effect on like every interaction you have with another human being, because you're facing them just as you are. So I think that's huge, and that's been a big impact on my life. Like love and even just like, I think I'd so rigidly kind of thought like of just functional training, kettlebell training, just actually allowing myself to be like, no, I actually do want to do some of this for aesthetics. Like I do want to look good. I do want to like at the moment like bulk up a bit, not just because I want to perform well, but because I want to look good. I want to sort of, you know, feel like for myself and like, you know, for like future dating life, and like even just for your mates. Like like one of the guys in my work, like he's like he's in great shape, and he's just giving me advice on like sort of bulking up as well and things, and like just to be able to like chat to other blokes about it and stuff, and like have that sort of camaraderie and like rapport is like, it's enjoyable to have that. So I think, yeah, it's definitely enhanced my quality of life outside of like just pain and just my performance feeling like better than it ever has done, just in terms of just like social life and like just chatting to people about training feels good, especially because it is like culturally quite like a popular thing at the moment. It feels cool to like be part of that movement in a positive way.
Would you not have spoken to those people before?
I don't think so, and maybe not in such like a way that is like lighthearted and sort of like positive, because I think I was like kind of just saw training as like a means to an end to like make me like a machine that can like perform certain reps and movements, and so that I can ride, and then riding is about progression and performance as well. And then I think that is just quite like quite a cold way to like look at like what can be just like, you know, just chucking a few weights around with the boys, or like going out for a ride with your mates and just whipping your bike about in the forest. I think like it just became so much about, especially maybe because I was in pain, it became so much about dealing with that, and like, and then that kind of like problem solving mentality just filled over into like the actual fun of like training, whether that's on a bike or like in the gym. I think it just became everything about like function and not about just like, am I actually enjoying this? And like, you know, how do you enjoy things but doing them with other people as well? Do you know what I mean? I think like that was a big part of like the cycle we've gone through, is that I have been training with you, and it's been nice to like just have that social side of things. And I think, like I said to you, like when I move away, like looking for like a gym, or like even when I'm in the gym, having the confidence now to like, if I see someone who's like going at the same time as me, like, do you want to train together? Like, and also having the mindset to be like, I don't mind if I'm not necessarily doing my training program, I'd rather train with someone else and have that social element, even if it means I'm not like, you know, I'll obviously deal with the mobility issues that I want to maintain and sort of keep repairing. But like if someone else is doing a bodybuilding split for a couple of weeks and I've got nothing else on, like, who cares? Like, I don't mind just jumping in on that. Or if someone else is doing like body weight thing, like, I mean, you know, even if it was like a bird or something, like, yeah, what the hell? Like, go 3 times a week and do some like yoga, like, whatever. Like I think it's just made me look at myself more as just like a general athlete rather than just someone who just does kettlebells and biking. Like.
Yeah. Is there anything else you want to say?
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Nice. Awesome. Thank you.